Hello, everyone. I just wanted to jump on here to give some more detailed information on this storm that triggered a tornado warning. It's currently in McMinn County, and it's going to be staying in McMinn County. Uh, Here, let's go to the single pane. This is the storm right here that we're looking at. And even though this uh, tornado warning extended down into Bradley County as well as right here at the top of Polk County, it is not heading in that direction. And if you live in those counties, there is no risk from this storm. But let me show you a little bit closer. So, in this storm, we see winds moving in one direction, and then in this red section, you see inflow on the back end of the storm. This is actually a really good um, display of what we call a mesocyclone. Uh, I did not see any indication of this storm forming a tornado. Having a mesocyclone does not mean that a tornado is there. It is kind of a precursor that can be there before a tornado, and it's needed before a tornado. Um, but it is my opinion that there's not a tornado within this storm. So we do have some, quarter size hail involved with this storm as well. But the big thing is right here where it says radar indicated rotation. So the radar saw rotation within the storm as a mesocyclone, and um, this tornado warning was issued. This is not inherently, super dangerous storm. We do have, those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible, and that quarter size 1 inch hail. But it's not a very strong storm. It's actually on its way to weakening. Uh, we do have this line of prefrontal storms forming right here, like I posted in the last update. These are not really predicted to be very strong. And then we have the main line of storms right along here, which we're watching closely. Alson Brewster, yeah, you can go back to bed. There's no risk for you. Hamilton County, yeah, Hamilton County, the storms haven't even gotten to Hamilton County really yet. This one briefly made its way over Hamilton County, at the very north end around Sale Creek and Birchwood area. But it is not something that we do have this rotation increasing within the storm right now. But yeah, so for Hamilton County, you've got some storms coming in here in a little while, but I'm not seeing any indications of rotation or anything like that. I will say we are starting to see an increase in rotation within the storm, heading towards South Liberty and Piney Grove area neighborhoods. As always, and I'll always say, if there's a tornado warning out, treat it like there's a tornado. It's better to be safe. I would say the possibility and chance of this becoming a tornado has increased quite a bit with this increase of rotation right here. Let's zoom in on it. So right here, heading towards Piney Grove Road, South Liberty area, County Road 752, It's probably moved past there by now. So Piney Grove Road over towards the Etowah area, especially like the North Etowah area, Tennessee Avenue, also known as Highway 411 as you extend out. But mainly let's see, the area it's going to cross 411 is called South Amherst. So we'll keep an eye on this storm very closely. I do think the threat has increased with this increase in rotation. I think there's a good possibility that there may be a tornado forming within this now. It's starting to take a little bit more shape. The storm in the last couple of slides looked like it was weakening. So, it's weaker. Then it started to get a little stronger, then weaker. And so this storm is kind of changing its flow back and forth. All right, let me check through the comments, see if there's anybody or anything I can answer. Like I said, Hamilton County has storms coming later. Brad, thanks for the kind words. Nothing in Ringgold. In Dayton, there's no, risk. You got like some stormy area coming in, but there's nothing organized or threatening. Sydney, Seton, if you're in Athens close to Piney Grove, let me see exactly where Piney Grove goes through Athens. So you're fine. This area in Athens where Piney Grove heads, Piney Grove's over here, Athens is up here. You are good. Charleston, good by 3:15. We do have more storms coming in for the Charleston area. It'll probably be clear around 3:15, for you to travel if that's what you're looking at doing. Depending on where you're going. It's going to be stormy. We do have these storms coming in from the west. I'm going to keep an eye on this section right here. A lot of times the south end of a storm band can create some little pockets of rotation, so we'll keep an eye on that. Amy, it's funny how our bodies wake up. I think that we still have that within us to kind of notice changes in the barometric pressure and atmosphere, like animals know when storms are coming. Southeast Cleveland, yeah, you don't have anything anywhere around you at the moment. 9:30 a.m. graduation. That's going to be a stormy drive. Well, 9:30, I think it may be cleared out by then. Josh Wooden, yeah, they're supposed to. The main line of storms is supposed to weaken as it approaches Hamilton County, and then it's going to re-strengthen further down in Georgia. All right, so let's go back in and zoom in. We still have an increase in rotation around the Piney Grove area, moving in the direction of Etowah and North Etowah, towards Route 30 and Highway 411. And then that's going to continue on towards the Macedonia area up here, Liberty Hill, Prospect. That main area of rotation, strong rotation, is heading more towards Macedonia and Liberty Hill. So Amy, you're in Etowah. Like I say, definitely with this better formation of rotation here. Previously, when I put out the information, it was not a very strong rotation that I was worried about, but now at this point it is starting to get a little bit finer, a little bit tighter, And I think that there's a possibility of a tornado, either forming or a small one being on the ground right now. I'm just going in and pinning this video since I have a moment. I'm trying to be better about, keeping the current information up in the featured area. Okay, so let's make our way down. Amanda Matson area. The direction of the rotation is heading towards Etowah, or, here I'll show it on the map. So it's right here. It's been moving predominantly directly east, like I say, towards North Etowah, Grady, Williamsburg, Etowah. And it's going to make its way towards Macedonia, Mecca, Conasauga, Prospect, those areas. South Meigs County, yeah, it's stormy. So, but I don't see any immediate threats. Or let's zoom out. I do want to keep an eye on this area right here. Some of these other little small storm cells. Make sure nothing forms up. There's no rotation down here within these storms. So let's see if the tornado warning's been updated. No indication of it, but the storm is really getting, some good formation. When you start to get these brighter colors, these, yellows and oranges within this area, you start to see more of a possibility of a tornado being indicated. Let's take a look at correlation coefficient. So possibly see some indication of debris forming right up in there. The way the correlation coefficient works is it takes a look at everything that's in the air at that spot, and it starts to detect, okay, there's moisture. The more moisture there is, the more everything correlates, or it's seeing it as the same thing. But when you start to pick up like dust and debris or grass or other things where there could be a tornado, you start to drop in that correlation. The things within the atmosphere are different from each other, and so we're seeing some indications of some wind. Oh, get that out of the way. And we're seeing this little blue in the area right here and these greens. So I'd say there's a possibility there's either some really strong winds within that section, or there may be a tornado located there. Oh, I hate it when this happens. We've got a little broken section here within the velocity. Let me see if that's just on this map. We have other velocity maps we can use. So we are seeing some pretty strong rotation at the base level. So I'm going to swap back to high res. Relative velocity. But I would say anywhere from Inglewood down to the state line down here, or I'm sorry, the county line around Delano. No, that's too large. I would say around Etowah, anywhere from County Road 516 down to Balltown. You need to be prepared for a possibility of a tornado moving through your area. We've got strong indications of rotation within that area, and it is entirely possible there's a tornado on the ground. Thanks, Samantha, for that recap on there. I appreciate that. All right. So, as far as merging between this section and the main frontal line up here, um, I don't see any danger within, eventually one will take up the other. What this is actually going to do is it's going to give us some relief. It's going to break down these storms that are coming in, kind of suck up some of their energy. So, and it's because of the way this is traveling. Sometimes, it can create stronger storms, but not this time. From the direction of travel and the conditions. We do have some stronger storms. This is kind of outside of the area where I really look a lot. But, up around Watts Bar, Kingston area, Farragut, Knoxville. I know a lot of times there's people from this area visiting up in Sevierville. You've got some storms headed in that direction. When you get up this high, you've got to use a different radar. There we go. So the Dandridge area up here, whenever you see this little icon that shows a tornadic vortex signature, and that's where the mesoscale starts to get higher and you start to look at that. So there's a pretty strong thunderstorm heading towards Shady Grove up there. But as far as Sevierville, Gatlinburg area, there's not much going on. All right, let's come back down here, get back to the main storm we're looking at. All right, so we've got this next scan, and we see a big reduction in rotation. And that is great news. It means this storm is currently weakening. We did have a tornado. It's most likely on its way to coming back up off the ground. As far as the Etowah area, yeah, you will be clear in about, I'd say by 3:10, you'll be completely clear. But still possibility of a tornado in that area. Let's see what our speeds are on the storm. So it's moving about 29 knots. So earlier you heard me say the meso number. There's a scale of rotation within mesocyclones, and this one is currently at a 7, which is pretty high, and that can trigger a tornado warning. It looks like we've had an update within this tornado warning. It's still saying radar indicated, which means nobody has called in to say that there was a tornado on the ground. It's entirely possible this stayed up. Yeah, we may get reports. There will probably be some storm damage reports if there was not a tornado. And those should be coming in soon, which means, if we're not getting storm damage reports that show that there was a tornado, then there wasn't one. All right, let me get back over to the comments. Very calm in Etowah right now. So you're probably over on the south side. So the north end of Etowah, you see this storm making its way across, but on the south end of Etowah. So from 7th Street south in Etowah, more towards the Balltown area, you didn't really see a storm at all. Trying to click out of this. There we go. Every time I click within the map, it shows that information. It's weird to click out of. All right. So we do have some more breaking up of this storm, and we're getting some issues from. Oh, it's because I didn't switch back to the other radar. In this area, you can kind of bounce back and forth between a radar that's more north of our area. They can show similar images, but you saw earlier, this was more green and this was more red because of the orientation of the radar, but you're still seeing generally the same image, and you're seeing weakening of that rotation. That little pocket of rotations right around 411 highway right here. And it's now proceeded even further with a new scan. Dunlap's in the clear for the next little while. Harrison's not caught anything other than some light rain in the area. Maybe some medium rain. Stephanie, I don't know what your settings are. Maybe even turn off your Bluetooth. I'm not sure why you can't hear. Everything looks like it's working on my end, so maybe you've got your phone on silent or something. Sarah, you're talking about 411. It's actually past 411 highway now. And we have a new severe thunderstorm warning out for this storm. We'll see if they update this tornado warning. I don't believe they will. That rotation's kind of dying out. That mesocyclone's losing its, formation strength. So I believe that severe thunderstorm warning will be all we have. It's still saying, 60 mile per hour wind gusts and hail up to an inch in size. All right, so back out over here. I know you see this little bright section there, but that's a radar artifact. I'm not seeing anything over on this side with the storm that would indicate that there's anything. You get some interference from the radar from different changes in terrain. And when you look at a radar over and over for a certain area, you start to learn to read through those artifacts. But otherwise, as we stretch out, we're not seeing a lot of rotation out there. We're not seeing many severe hazards outside of, these storms. Here, I'll show you. Let's go to the normal map so you can see it a little bit larger. So these storms are kind of stalled and moving across, and now they're starting to kind of slow that and make their way south again. You can see they're also kind of weakening in this area here, and where we have this prefrontal band over this area. So currently I do believe we are pretty low risk for a lot of these hazards, and the tornado warning has officially been lifted for this storm right here, making its way towards Telco Plains. But yeah, so right now, not a lot going on out there. We've got the severe thunderstorm warning making its way out of McMinn County. We've got some stormy areas in Ray County and Meigs County area. Really, a lot of these northern counties that I cover. But nothing severe. And I don't see much indication of anything making its way towards severe at the moment. Right here in this small little section, we'll keep an eye just to see if there's any. Sometimes you can get some quick shear within a storm as one storm hits another one that's going with a different path. So we'll keep an eye on that. I don't think it's going to really produce anything scary or dangerous. All right, since we've had that drop down, let me go ahead and pull up the HRRR, see what we have. So it is currently loading, but we've got enough slides to get through what we have coming in. So this little lobe here, you see this prefrontal area possibly building on the model. And you see the storm sweeping down that main line. We get a lot of weakening. Maybe a little, Sail Creek, Birchwood area, Dayton area around 5 a.m., 4 a.m. Central Time. Moving across Decatur, Sweetwater, Athens. These are a little bit stronger, but not, they're more centralized cells within the band. Kind of get some breaking up of the band. So this is 6 a.m. For Bradley County, Cleveland area. The storm's going to come across around 6:15 a.m. to 7 a.m. We do see a little bit of strengthening of the storm coming directly over downtown Chattanooga area around 7 a.m. I know the Ironman race is happening down there this morning, so that's something that's going to need to be watched by the officials. They're typically getting everything ready and people are on the ground in that area. So that main downtown area at the riverfront should definitely use caution around, 6:30, 6:40 a.m. And we do see this kind of re-strengthening of storms a little bit earlier than anticipated. But then it actually picks up motion to the west and carries it away. So once these storms get through the Tennessee-Georgia line, we should see some rapid weakening. And by 9 a.m., by the time a lot of people wake up, we'll be completely good. And just to show you, throughout the day, the rest of the day, we don't have any. Oh, this takes us through 3 p.m., but there aren't any storms that should be coming in later in the day today. All right. Is the tornado threat for the night over in Bradley County? I wouldn't say it's completely over. I'd say from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Be watching real closely in Bradley County. There's a cell that's supposed to be going through there. Athens, yeah, you can go get some sleep there here while I'm giving these conditions. Let's go back to the main radar. Why does it keep? There, we'll do that. Okay. Let's dive in. So Bradley County, you've got some stormy area coming in. Nothing severely threatening. Etowah's in the clear now. Hamilton County, okay, still. Well, you've got storms coming in, but nothing severe. I would say within the next hour, Hamilton County should be this set of storms is moving so differently than what we typically see. So the southern half of Hamilton County will see, not much until closer to 6 a.m. The northern half of Hamilton County, so I will say the line is around Lakeside, Soddy-Daisy on one side of the river and Harrison on the other. From Harrison north or from Soddy-Daisy north, it's going to be, stormy. From there south, there shouldn't be anything. What about Hickson area? Yeah, Hickson area, you're pretty clear. This little small storm may make its way across the northern side of Hickson, but it's not giving me any indications of strengthening or severity. It's kind of stretching out. Let's just look. Yeah, so it's not very well formed wind-wise. Sometimes I hate the way this map works. But yeah, so I'm not seeing any, indications of anything dangerous within that storm. So Hickson, you should be good. Ooltewah, you should be good for quite a while. Dayton. I had a question about Dayton, saying it sounds bad up there. There's some heavy rain for sure. I'm not having any of those bright colors indicating stronger gusts, but there may be one or two. There's currently no severe thunderstorm warning out on it. Just, heavy rain, especially around the south side of Dayton. So, where you see some of these brighter and darker reds, keep an eye out on the roads if you have to be out. There's probably a little bit of flash flooding, some standing water on those roadways. And again, some flash flooding and flooding is a potential threat for the next few hours because we have so much rain coming through, and some of this rain is going over the same area time after time. So, that's something we need to watch out for and be cautious. And if you see some of this standing water on the roads, don't, call while driving, but take a second, pull over somewhere safely and report it. So that way, they can come check it out. If it's something that's very hazardous, they can close off that section of road and keep people from trying to drive through it. That keeps people from getting swept away by water, which happens quite a bit. It, doesn't take very fast water, very deep water to move a car away. You get a lot of surface area across the tires, and the tires are filled with air, which gives it some buoyancy too. I work with Swiftwater Rescue, and it is very dangerous rescue. So not only do you keep people safe within the vehicle, but you help keep sorry, I heard a noise. You help keep people safe for, first responders from having to go out and perform those rescues. I'm getting some. Check my phone real quick. I have some people who used to live in the area or are scattered throughout areas. So I always try and check my phone, when there's nothing impending. Right now, we don't really have anything active. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that's still stretched within the area that I watch, but that storm's made its way past. So there are no advisories, no severe thunderstorm warnings. We do have a tornado watch out just because the atmospheric conditions could support the possibility of a tornado, but as I posted before, um, I'd really see that potential being much less. Here, let me adjust the camera. I know that I tend to kind of lean in uh, to look at the map, and it's hard to keep that camera position well. Nobody really wants to look at me that much anyways. Did I already mention Apison? You know, Apison, not a lot coming in until later, and it's going to be a lot weaker. So I didn't mention that area because it's going to be relatively weak. The stronger storm areas for what's coming in later right now are projected to be downtown Chattanooga and right here across it's going to start on the west side of Bradley County and make its way across Cleveland to the east side of Bradley County. Yes, Lakeside is good to get some sleep. You might hear a rumble of thunder out there, but there are currently no threats. With a new scan, seeing some rumbles of thunder pick up. Some of these cells are starting to become more isolated from the line. That's convenient because it gives me more defined places to keep an eye out. Still no severe thunderstorm warning out, but right here at Graysville, Ogden, Dayton, you have a stronger storm headed your way. Not severe at this moment, but that's what I'm going to keep an eye on, as well as right here at the Ray Meigs line. It's going to go, right through the south end of Decatur. So we keep an eye on both maps. For those of you unfamiliar with these maps, this is what people typically call the radar. It's a reflectivity map, and it shows kind of different densities of moisture up in the clouds. That's really what you're looking at when you're looking at this type of map. The more dense the cloud is, of course, you're going to have more rain, the heavier rain. That's where you see the bright reds. But then when that moisture gets even more dense, it's because you have hailstones forming, things like that. That's where you get the purples and then sometimes even the white colors. Over here on the other side, we have the velocity map. There are a couple of different type of velocity maps. This one is relative velocity, so it subtracts the storm motion from what it's showing the wind speeds are. And it can be kind of grainy at times and have artifacts because it is a calculated map. When you see the greens and reds, what you're actually seeing are, winds moving towards the radar and away from the radar. The radar's located right down here in High Top, Alabama. And that's the radar that covers our area. When you get to some of these more northern counties, you could also use the Morristown radar. But it's impeded a lot by terrain, so we typically just use the high top radar. You can also go to just a regular velocity map. This does not have the storm motion subtracted from it, but sometimes it's convenient to use for some conditions, especially if you have slower moving storms. Then over here you have a base velocity map. So this specifically looks at the wind speeds at a lower level, a specific lower level within the atmosphere. And then you have spectrum width, which you don't really use very often. So I usually just keep it on relative velocity. It's a good high, um, I call it high resolution storm relative velocity. Gives you a better insight into what's going on out there. Yes, Etowah is okay. Hickson Middle Valley, yeah, you're fine to get some sleep. And really, to be more broad but also informative, there is no severe thunderstorm or tornado warning or no advisory for any of the areas that I cover. Um, there is one still active for this little chunk around Liberty Hill, Conasauga, but that is for a storm that has already passed. So there are no active threats within any area which I cover. Yeah, you know, I know some of you may be just joining in. Um, we're really seeing conditions decrease right now. Uh, we're seeing a lot of these storms move through an area where a prefrontal line kind of built and suck some of that atmospheric energy out. We'll probably see some re-strengthening here and there. Um, the current model is showing some stronger storms making their way through downtown Chattanooga and Cleveland area a little bit later. And it looks like this line may be picking up speed a little bit. This has been the most inconsistent line of storms ever. It's changed, the way that it's associated. It's gone from this to more of a slope. Now it's back to flat. Um, it's sped up, it's slowed down, it's sped up. It has been an interesting one to watch and a difficult one to kind of give a good synopsis for. It looks like it's making its way into the area pretty early, a lot earlier than anticipated with the last update that I gave. The models have been having a hard time, and a lot of that's because the storm is in that flat orientation, uh, latitude wise. So, models, what they do is they take, all of this information from previous storms over time and it uses that information and tries to guess and calculate what's going to happen. It's difficult to really predict what's going to happen without using models. Takes a lot of knowledge and honestly just like being in the area for a long time and understanding the way the storms move. But when you have these storms that don't move like the typical storms, the models really get confused by it, so they don't show a good accurate image. But also, it moves a little bit differently than what everybody's used to, so that tribal knowledge in your mind and experience makes it a little bit more difficult to estimate. And I hear Flynn waking up in the background. So I'm going to put this on mute for a second while I go and take a look, go and take care of my kids since we don't have any active threats, and I will be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Um, Unsuccessful attempt at getting Flynn back to sleep, but uh, my wife has got him in the bedroom. She woke up too, and she was helping out. So um, we're back on here live. I was trying to do my best to keep everything, updated on the map and give you a couple of updates. So as you can see, I've drawn a line. This is a blue line. Let me redraw this. We're gonna make this a different color so it's easier to see compared to other things. We're gonna make this bright pink. If you are above this line, up in this area, you are good. You can go to bed. You don't have any severe risk. The tornado watch has been lifted everywhere. There is a severe thunderstorm warning over in this section that I've drawn, the line below, but that thunderstorm has weakened. So I expect that severe thunderstorm warning to expire, and the stronger part of it has made its way, right there at the North Carolina line. We do have, these cells are becoming more, isolated from each other. We're going to watch for that strengthening that can occur as we approach the state line right here. Earlier models were showing some storms building over here to the west in Alabama, but that's not really occurring. We've just got some light rain. Do have some other storms further back here, but you can see they're making their way to weakening. We do have a new advisory out. This is for Blount, Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, Meigs, Monroe, and Ray County until 8 a.m. And this is due to some rain that's fallen and the rain coming in, and also taking into account that we've had a lot of rain lately and the soil's been saturated. So this advisory was posted to give people a heads up that, hey, road conditions may not be clear. Kind of the things I was talking about just before I got off earlier. So that's in this section right here where these storms have passed through. We do have, like I say, these, individual sections of storms kind of reorganizing. We do expect a little bit of re-strengthening as we make our way towards the state line. Model was actually showing downtown Chattanooga with a pretty significant organized storm down there, so we're going to keep an eye to see if that happens. Models are definitely not perfect, but also, it's been pretty inaccurate for timing and conditions on this storm. So we're going to keep watching. I'll stay on here until we're clear. May take a break here and there, but got a bottle of water. So one thing that stayed the same throughout, the last couple of days watching these storms is this, section of Hamilton County staying mostly clear and seeing a lot of, these storms splitting. So that's holding pretty true right now. Kind of zoom in here. We're going to take the animation down to 7 frames. Um, we are seeing more of this, west to east movement with the storm. So when we get down here around Saudi Daisy, uh, Lone Oak, you've got a little bit of a stormy section. Saudi, Bakewell Mountain area, south side of Sale Creek, moving over towards like Lakeside. Um, it's going to be stormy. We'll keep an eye on that storm, make sure it doesn't strengthen. Right now, I'm not seeing any, wind characteristics that concern me. Everything's pretty standard at the moment. So again, if you didn't hear earlier or see my update that I posted not long before I went live, these storms are moving from north to south as a line, but the storm motion is moving from west to east. And what that does is that creates what we call training. It can lead to some localized flooding, some flash flooding, because you have these areas where these storms just kind of go through one after the other. We are starting to pick up speed with the line of storms, so that'll help carry the storms away more quickly. We won't have as much of that localized flooding. I'm going to jump to a model and then back, because right now animation's not wanting to. There we go. So you can see, we're starting to get a little bit more speed within these storms. Now, as that picks up, especially when we get this bowing action along the line, and you can see this little section of moisture that's being kicked up. We do have some, pretty strong winds that are outside of this storm. They are not damaging level, but some areas in front of the storm you can unexpectedly see some gusts around, as fast as 40 miles per hour in some places. So that's something to keep in mind. That's something we have to keep a watch out for. You expect some winds within the storm, but when you start getting these stronger gusts out in front, it does scare some people. So yeah, we're keeping an eye on that as well. We're going to continue to watch these storms. When you get this storm motion increasing that much, you can kind of create a more solid band, and then you watch that progress into something called a derecho, which is a very fast-moving set of storms that kind of moves outside of the normal set. Those can then increase to some damaging conditions. I don't think that that's going to happen, but that's something we keep an eye on. I like passing on my knowledge and telling people things that I'm looking at, things that I'm looking for. So, if something ever happens one day, or if I move away, or if it's a situation where I don't have the ability to get on here, you have some knowledge to be able to look at the radar and look at some things yourself and determine, if you're safe. I definitely at no point consider myself having exclusive knowledge, and I want everybody to be informed, yes, but I also want to teach. I want to pass on this knowledge. My degree is in chemistry. I'm a big, science is a big deal to me, and science is about sharing information, and everybody working together to learn things. So, it's part of what I want to do is pass on my knowledge. Um, if my kids continue to, be interested in the weather, then maybe we can continue this Engle Weather Service through generations. And my family's always had a very strong dedication to public safety and helping people, trying to pass that on. Kids grow up and they're allowed to make their own decisions and do their own things. But, if they continue interest in the weather, then hopefully we can keep this going for a long time. Do, do, do. I know a lot of you often tell me thanks for all the hard work and things that I put into this, but it really is something that I'm glad that I can provide, and I am equally as thankful to everybody for supporting me. Um, it makes me happy that I can help people, but you help me as well. Just letting me know that the things that I'm doing, the time that I'm putting in, is worthwhile, and that you appreciate what I do. I also, quite a few of you send me, you can call them tips, donations, money for thanks, that whole sort of thing. Uh, I always try to take that and put it back into what I do so that way I can improve, the quality of what I'm doing, uh, improve the software that I use, the hardware that I have, the computer set that I use right now to go live, um, being able to show things live. I know a lot of you probably remember back when it was, screenshots off of my phone or my iPad. Um, you're the ones that allowed me to get to the point where I can now get on here live with a camera and a microphone that's got good quality so you can hear better. Um, you know, Good resolution. I actually recently increased my internet speed. Um, EPB has a capability of getting up to uh, 2.5 gig internet speeds, and with branching out into streaming to YouTube while I'm streaming to Facebook at the same time, y'all gave me the capability of being able to put that extra money in to be able to pay for that faster internet speed so I don't lose or lag in my streaming. So I just want you to know that it's appreciated, but I also try to take that, turn it around, and use it to better what I do. It gives you better information, but it makes it easier on me as well, so I don't have to work as hard to give you good information. We do have, I'm going to get rid of the velocities map because not a lot's going on there. We have storms moving into the Saudi area. We have a little smaller storm out in front building around the river in Harrison. That's just rain at the moment. So this line of storms is, making its way down. We do have a little bit of organization here. Um, Nothing that I'm seeing anything severe in. I do see a little bit of, light bowing around Highway 27, uh, around the Saudi area. That can be an indication of, some stronger wind gusts. And so we'll keep an eye on that. They may end up putting out a severe thunderstorm warning for that area that will extend over towards Harrison, maybe Birchwood, probably more Harrison. They may not, as long as it doesn't increase, then we probably won't see that. Starting to get some storms over here in Marion County. Um, I'm kind of seeing that V pattern and these, longer storm formations here. I keep an eye on those. Those can sometimes be indicators of something growing to be a stronger storm, but not all the time. We look for, periods of rotation around this bottom end. Right now, we don't have anything to worry about. Still no severe thunderstorm warnings in the area. The tornado watch has expired. We just have this flood advisory up here. And if you're just kind of joining in, I had 1 to 2 inches of rain, which has fallen in the area. Half inch to an inch is also expected. A lot of these areas, you're going to get light rain the rest of the morning, and then it's going to clear out. But the big thing is these areas have seen a lot of rain over the past couple of weeks, and so the soil's saturated. So it takes longer for this rain to be absorbed into the ground, and flooding potential is always something that you have to look for. Inside the storms at the moment, typically lightning, hail, wind, tornadoes are an immediate threat, but then after they're gone, flooding can really be a big threat afterwards. And it takes a lot of specialized knowledge to be able to go in and rescue people from those flooded areas. If you're within my coverage area, I will say that there's an organization called Tri-State Mutual Aid, which bands together to bring in a lot of different fire departments and other organizations dedicated to keeping people safe. Excuse me. And Tri-State Mutual Aid supports a lot of joint training. And so there's a group that is dedicated to swiftwater rescue. And there's a lot of work and training put in to give a lot of people throughout this area different knowledge in how to perform swiftwater rescue, and then keep people on the same terminology and technique and tactics, so that way wherever something happens and whenever it happens, we can all band together and perform those swiftwater rescues to keep the people safe, perform the rescues effectively, and also keep the people performing the rescues safe as well. Tri-State Mutual Aid does a lot of, work, a lot of hard work to help bring that knowledge together. All right, so the next radar scan is in. We're seeing, these more organized storms are kind of breaking up a little bit. A lot of that bowing that was happening along that storm around Saudi Daisy Lakeside area, it's kind of losing that formation. It's kind of hard to see. It looks like it's still curved, but it's not pushed and bowed out. It's becoming more an oval or circle, which means you're losing some of that wind gust with it. Still currently no severe thunderstorm warnings. Double check. No real indications of rotation. You do see a couple little brighter specks of velocity, but those are most likely artifacts. Things like, stuff in the atmosphere like dust, different physical terrain things, places like ridges, uh, even larger buildings. There are a lot of different things that can cause artifacts on velocity maps. That's why you've got to learn to look at the patterns really well. So we see right here, we do have a storm. It's not really rotating at the moment. You have a little bit of inflow. You have this gap. So that's the storm kind of feeding. It's, bringing in some energy. Um, we'll keep an eye on that to see if that tightens up into a rotating storm. Um, we're also pushing into this area of Mowbray Mountain, so that might, with that terrain, it might break it up a little bit. All right, let's go and check out the comments a little bit. How does it look for North Georgia? Right now, there's absolutely nothing. Here in probably about, let's say around 5:15 to 5:45, these storms will be making their way across the Tennessee state line into North Georgia. There are some indications that they may re-strengthen in that area, that immediate area near the state line, and then weaken again. And that's a lot of why I'm sitting here still actively watching. But like I said, they should weaken pretty quickly after that. And with that re-strengthening, we're going to be mainly looking at, winds and hail. What time will Birchwood be clear? As far as storms go, Birchwood probably be clear by about 5:30 a.m., but it's going to continue raining for a couple of hours after that. About 9 a.m., most of the rain should be out of Tennessee. And Amy, yeah, the phone and tablet days, a lot of people have joined in, within the past couple of years, but I've actually been on here for about 11 years. Technology has grown exponentially over the past couple of years. A lot of these resources have been around for a while, but they were kind of untested, and the information you could get off them, it wasn't as good. I really have to trust something a lot before I'll start using it. Um, Radar scope's always been a pretty good radar system. Gibson Ridge is kind of like the top standard a lot of times, but it's very scientific. You don't get a lot of things that you can show that would be productive for me to use it to show, you what's going on. But if you know how to use Gibson Ridge, especially the Gibson Ridge Analyst Level 2 software, if you really know how to use that, you can do quite a bit with it. It's hard to use productively when there's multiple storms in areas too, because you have to kind of dig into that analysis. So currently, I like using Radar Omega. It's really quick. It's user friendly. I pay for data from a company called Allison House, which I've used Allison House since the old days. It's a really good source of this radar data. There's a lot of misconception about looking at a radar on your cell phone or something like that. Typically, a cell phone is going to show you a radar that's delayed by, it can be, 10 to 15 minutes of a delay from what's actually happening as far back as 30 to 40 minutes. Using a repository for real-time radar data costs money, and that's part of the expenses of this. But it allows me to show you what's going on as close to real time as possible. So you take that data, you plug it into something like Radar Omega, and then you just start analyzing, getting some messages about, it says Red Bank in the clear for severe weather. Red Bank, you still have some storm sections moving through, so I wouldn't say you're completely clear. About probably another 45 minutes and you will be. Hickson area's got a more organized storm section over it with some fairly heavy rain, especially around the 153 area, between 153 and the river. Have a section with pretty heavy rain moving through Ware Branch up towards Birchwood. That's going to be Birchwood Pike area, and it'll be making its way from Birchwood Pike towards Highway 58. So we are seeing a little bit of re-strengthening of these storms. They're not becoming super organized, but they are getting a little bit stronger as they hit this fresh atmosphere. We had some prefrontal storms that were moving along, the more northern areas through here, but they didn't really hit down around Chattanooga, like downtown Chattanooga, Collegedale, Appleton, the bottom half of Bradley County and Polk County. So it's kind of hitting some fresh energy, and this is one of the reasons I was staying on the live. Delano, right here in Polk County, we've got a storm becoming a little bit stronger over here. That one may actually issue a severe thunderstorm warning. This is right here along 411, right around the G Creek area. Hate it for the people over at G Creek Campground. That's a great place to go camping, by the way, for a family. It's not, heavy wilderness, but it's a nice campground to go, and it's close. So, hope everybody's tents are good and staked in and they have their rain flies. So that section that was coming through, Saudi Daisy and then Harrison, it's still kind of pushing a little bit outward right along here. So around I-75 in Bradley County, just kind of, if you've got to go out and drive around or something, be aware that there might be a strong gust. Even though there's not a severe thunderstorm warning, there's probably some small, strong gusts coming out through, Sequoia Grove area of Cleveland, out towards, Highway 11. Marion County, you just got some bands of some good rain making its way through. Getting some indications of lightning starting to kick up. I'm located down here in the Appleton area, and it says that lightning was detected about 14 miles away from me. We don't have it on the map yet. It should pop up. Alright, so I want to show everybody, we've got this little circle right here with this triangle, and I know that looks ominous. And now it's disappeared. Whenever you see that, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's danger. These maps are set up to show characteristics that you can go and look at. That little triangle pops up when it sees what's called a mesocyclone, or also TVS, or tornadic vortex signature. And sometimes different characteristics are misconstrued as those, and those don't always mean that there's a tornado. So, like I said, that wasn't one. I can tell by the way the storms were looking, that wasn't one that I was worried about. All right, 4:45 in Chattanooga. Can I go back to sleep? Large trees around my house. The storms are scarier to me. So for the Chattanooga area, you've got some storm cells that are starting to make their way in. Um, Severe weather-wise, you should be fine. You may see some stronger gusts, but if you're worried about those trees, I wouldn't say that you you're completely in the clear. We do have these storms making their way into like the city of Chattanooga area and Ooltewah, Collegedale, Addison. Right now, there's still no severe thunderstorm warnings or um, you know anything else other than this advisory that was issued up here. Dayton, Sale Creek, Decatur, Athens, Etowah, Riceville, Nyota, Madisonville. That was issued due to just as an advisory because we've had some heavy rain in the area. Um, So we don't have any severe hazards, and I'm just keeping an eye on these storms to make sure they don't strengthen. I already had everything up and live, and I can give you that information immediately. Just had a rumble of thunder that I heard in Appleton. Tell you what, let me make a change up here. Try and make this a little bit more viewer friendly for the moment. All right, so wherever you see these little plus signs, those are indications of lightning, and the lightning's a little bit delayed on here. Lightning typically isn't a severe condition, but when you get a lot of it very frequently, it can become a dangerous situation. Charleston, Tennessee, over here, you're starting to see this, set of rain pick up a little bit. So, right here in the corner of McMinn County, Polk County, Bradley County, kind of see some heavier rain with a little bit of thunder, lightning moving in. Red Bank, south of Red Bank towards downtown Chattanooga, seeing some heavier rain pick up over there as well. And I suspect there's probably some thunder and lightning occurring there. And over in Marion County, we've got a couple of storms we're keeping an eye on. So, Sharon, hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is going to be that set of storms. It's kind of sped up and slowed down as far as the band moves. Once this main front line of the storms is kind of past you, you'll be out of the risk. Sarah Beth, No, there's nothing happening at the moment. I'm keeping an eye on these storms to make sure they don't strengthen. Watching them make their way through. Um, After we get down towards the Dalton area, everything's going to kind of move out of the area pretty quickly and weaken. And I'll probably end the live. But currently, there's no severe thunderstorm warnings, um, no active threats other than some heavier rain and a little bit of lightning. So while we're sitting here watching, uh, if you have any questions, weather related or anything like that, not weather related even, uh, and take a second to kind of answer some questions. Since we don't have any severe threats at the moment, I guess we can make it a ask me anything moment unless we have something pop up. And any of my mods on here, you can let some questions fly by. While we're sitting here keeping an eye on things and don't have a whole lot going on, I do want to take a second to give a shout out to my team of moderators that really work hard to keep the information present, keep the clutter from building up. Um, they work hard to give me kind of peace of mind being able to do things without having to filter through everything. Sharon, uh, what made me interested in weather? So that's actually an interesting little story. A lot of you are on here because weather kind of frightens you, and that's actually where this came from. When I was a kid, uh, it was the whole normal thunder and lightning as a kid situation. And my parents used to joke that you'd see a lightning strike close by at night, and before the thunder would get there, I would be in the room. My mom even said one time it was almost like a cartoon. My feet would move faster than I would actually move, and it looked like I was running in place. Um, so yeah, I was frightened of storms when I was a kid. Uh, but I, for a long time, have been the type of person that I take fear and I turn it into fascination. So through all that time, I've learned about it. You kind of get that sense of control, information, and that fear kind of melts away. So that's what got me fascinated in it originally. And I mean, just like a lot of people my age, close to 40, um, the movie Twister had some influence as well. Uh, it was cool. It was interesting. There was some action. And so that kind of fed into my fascination about weather. And then as I got older and I started paying attention to the conditions and what's going on more, um, I started to discover that I had a little bit of skill uh, figuring out what's going on and where and how long it's going to last. Being involved with search and rescue, that kind of comes in handy, being able to, work to help keep everybody safe. Um, I moved to the Atlanta area for about 10 years. And when I did that, it was kind of hard to communicate with a lot of the people that would wonder about the weather. So I formed what we have now, Ingle Weather Service. And I guess we're going on about 12 years now with that. So I found a nice fairly easy way to give out the information. And a lot of people can come in and get it really quickly and kind of get that sense of security. Sarah Beth says, I'm from New England. Storms are so different. Yeah. You really get a lot of difference uh, in the way storms act and move. Uh, and we have a really unique area, the way that atmospheric currents flow from coming off of the Cumberland Plateau, through the mountains, through the river, uh, around other geographic areas. It's really unique down here. Uh, it's very interesting to sit there and watch and learn about the weather patterns, but definitely very different from the Northeast. Let's see here. We've got cows. Yeah, that's a classic line. Ba-ba. All right, so we still have some heavier rain happening around Highway 58. I-75 over here in Bradley County, from Cleveland near up to the Charleston, Tennessee area, right here at the corner of Polk County, McMinn County, Bradley County. Down here around Red Bank, Hill City, or Lupton City, Hickson area. And I'm also keeping an eye on, we have a little bit of this Boeing formation around Prentice Cooper, Suck Creek Mountain. So I would expect around Suck Creek Mountain area to see some stronger wind gusts for a moment. And it looks like we're starting to get those gusts further away, and the storm's kind of breaking apart a little bit, but reorganizing right here within Hamilton County around Tiftonia. One thing I am trying to do is remember that I can look through this quickly, but if you're looking at the map, actively trying to see what I'm seeing and understand what I'm saying, I have to move more slowly with the map. So I'm trying to learn and be better about that. So right here, Highway 58, 153 area, Washington Hills, some heavier rain coming in. Still no active severe threats. Jillian, is Appleton looking safe? Yeah, right now, like I said, there's no severe threats. We may have a rumble of thunder and some lightning coming in, maybe a wind gust for a moment, but nothing damaging or severe or scary. Sharon, so that's really neat. Ooh. Weather radio, it's fairly cheap. It's great to have. Um, it's reliable. Yeah, they're a great little tool to have in your house to help keep yourself safe. It says there's a lot of rain in Red Bank. We have had a couple of storms come through the Red Bank area one after another. So, and I know that Red Bank and Red Bank, Hickson area, downtown Chattanooga area, there's been band after band of storms the past couple of weeks. So, say definitely be cautious on those streets this morning. I know that we're getting close to time for the Ironman race to start up around Chattanooga. Um, so just be careful out around there. If you are driving within that area, keep an eye out for the people who are, running this race, biking in this race. We have a lot of rain, wet conditions, and we want to keep those people safe. Still no, strong indicators of rotation. Do, do, do. Oh, I apologize. I have to change something I just said. I was mistaking that it was Sunday morning. It's not Sunday morning, it's Saturday morning. So the Ironman race is not currently going on or getting ready to start. Uh, yeah, Holly, get some sleep. Good to hear from you. Yeah, so this is Saturday morning. So no, the Ironman race is not going on, but still be cautious. I know there's probably crews out setting up for the Ironman race course. We want to keep them safe as well. Bobo Tori asks, "What do you do at McKee?" Um, you work there in the tax department. So Tori, I am third shift plant safety for the Tennessee area. I don't know how long you've worked at McKee. I don't know if you're familiar with Langston. Um, Langston does on first shift what I do on third shift. I cover the different areas of the plant, making sure that things are staying safe. If something happens to somebody, make sure that conditions change where somebody can't be injured in the future. Uh, and we always work to be proactive to keep people safe, not reactive. So yeah, I'm third shift plant safety there. Do, 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 do. Well, the model was showing as the storms made their way through Hamilton County, especially down here around Chattanooga, there was going to be a lot of strengthening. It is, some fairly heavy rain. I'm not seeing anything very threatening at the moment. We do have this set of storms behind it, though, that will make its way through as well. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on these storms making their way into Marion County. Again, these storms mainly have, some heavy rain with them, a couple of wind gusts, a little bit of lightning, but nothing threatening at the moment, severe wise. If you're just kind of jumping on here, one thing I've kind of touched on throughout the night is these storms are kind of passing over the same area as they make their way south. And so we've got to keep an eye on that buildup of, a lot of rainfall over the same area. So this set of storms over here making its way into Marion County is likely going to brush right across the south end of Hamilton County down here. In Bradley County, still no severe conditions either. Some heavier rain in the north end of the county. A little bit of lightning out here between Charleston and Delano. I'm going to redraw my line. I did this a bit earlier. Here, let's make it more visible for everybody. I am drawing a line on the map. And if you are above this line, you should not have any possibility of severe storms for the rest of the morning. So if you are above this line, get some rest. If you're beneath this line, right, like I said, there's still not any severe thunderstorm activity in the area, but we're just keeping an eye out because there's possibility of some re-strengthening of these storms here in the next hour or so. I'll leave that line up for a second. And just to kind of go through, Tellico Plains area, Riceville, Sail Creek, Dunlap, Greeley Logger, Tullahoma. If you're north of these areas, get some sleep, take a nap. Sleep in Red Bank. I'd say in Red Bank, yeah, you can get some sleep. We do have, a couple of little bands of heavier rain coming through, but I would say, let me see. So that's, I would say around 5:45, you may have some storms making their way back in. We'll have to keep an eye on those. But Hala, yeah, you can get some rest for, next 30, 45 minutes. We are seeing a little bit more defined development of these storms around Marion County, around I-24, Franklin State Forest area. So we will keep an eye on those. No real, characteristic indications of rotation or anything with those storms. We always kind of, when you get these sharp edges around the south end of the storms, it's always something good to kind of take a quick peek at. And a little bit more organization of storms over the city of Chattanooga, as well as 75 up here in, Bradley County area around the, Hamilton County, Bradley County line, Ooltewah, Georgetown, McDonald. Some heavy rain coming through, but nothing severe. We are still seeing this kind of gusty section out in front of the set of storms. This kind of happens. You have the storms coming through. You have the rain. You get that rain-cooled air. As that rain-cooled air comes off of these storms, here, let me get my pencil out. As that rain-cooled air comes off of these, sets of storms, you get this characteristic of this, misty rain in front. And that can, be an indication of a couple of gusts, unexpected gusts. The storm's not to you yet, but all of a sudden, for a moment, you have, a gust around 20, 30 miles per hour. Then it calms down, and then you have the storm. So if you ever see this on a radar, that's, typically what that's from. While we don't have any active severe threats, I'm going to take a second, refill my water bottle. Uh, I'll be back in a minute or two. Alright, I'm back. Reheated some coffee that I made earlier, too. Out here in Appleton, starting to hear the rain fall outside. Um, so, well, I was grabbing some water and a little bit of coffee. The storm that was here, actually, let me take a step back. Make sure I'm seeing this right. Animation's been a little buggy tonight. So I'm going to switch to the model, back to the radar, and that should refresh it. So these storms that I was keeping an eye on right here coming into Marion County have kind of weakened a little bit, likely due to this storm kind of picking up just east of South Pittsburgh around Nickajack Lake. It's kind of sucking the energy from those other storms, so we'll keep an eye on that cell. This cell right here around Tiftonia, some little bands of rain right here through East Ridge, Brainerd, Collegedale, and some heavier rain up around Bradley County, around Cleveland, South Cleveland. Over towards Benton and further west in Polk County, east in Polk County, right around the river. That's going to be, that's not the river. Lost Creek Road. You can see these storms are kind of, they were coming from north to south, and now they're starting to sweep across. We're starting to get more of that, west to east motion in some areas. As we get that change and it hits some fresh air, we are seeing a little bit of, strengthening in some of these storms. Let's see how the winds are looking. Not very gusty out around this storm in Cleveland. Definitely some heavier rain. Right there along South Lee Highway coming from Cleveland. Keep a close eye on this storm right here around Helltown, Nickajack Lake area in Marion County. And we do have some spots of rain making their way into Georgia now as well. Is Cleveland good to go back to sleep? Cleveland, give it about 20 minutes and that whole area, the north section of Bradley County, you'll be good. You can get some rest after, I'd say probably around 5:30, 5:40 a.m. That's some good coffee. Always like some good, strong, dark, black coffee. So as that little cell we were watching around Nickajack Lake area starts to move into some of the section where some storms have already made their way through, we do see it kind of stepping down a little bit. Lookout Mountain area in Tennessee and on the Georgia side. I see some heavier rain in that area. I know we're starting to get in the time of day where some people are traveling to work, so just use caution as you come down off Lookout Mountain area. Signal Mountain doesn't look too bad at the moment. And over towards Cleveland, we see that rain making its way out of the west side of Cleveland. Here in probably about, I'd say about 5:30, it should be completely outside the bypass. Always makes me happy when I get it right. You know, seeing things weaken like I kind of thought they would. Amy, go get some rest. Not completely sure what area you're in, but yeah, it's pretty much safe to get rest. Let me redraw my line here as we get closer to 5:30 in the morning. If you're just kind of joining back in or just joining in for the first time, I've been trying to show people areas where here. No, I don't like that one. Let me restart. Areas where it's safe to go ahead and get some rest. So if you're above this pink line, you should be good for severe threat for the rest of the morning. If you're above that pink line, go ahead and go to bed, get some rest. If you can't get to sleep, put on something easy to watch on the TV and just relax. Are you okay to go to sleep in Walker County? So these storms haven't really made their way down towards Walker County much yet. I'm gonna keep an eye on them after we start getting south of like Ringgold, Tunnel Hill, Dalton area, Trenton area. When we get past that, these storms are projected to weaken even more. And currently, there's no severe threat, and I don't really see a lot of big production in these storms, so you're likely safe to go to sleep, but I cannot say that for sure yet. Got a possibility of hail in Collegedale. Maybe a little bit of hail. If so, it would be right around north of Appleton Pike, around Tucker Road area, Edgemond Road. And if so, it's a really small area. Likely what you're hearing is just some real heavy rain in some of these little spots as far as Collegedale goes. On the south side, near the university now, the airport. I live down in, kind of around this area of Appleton. And we hear the rain coming in here. I don't hear any hail. And some good, heavier rain. On that note, as far as the rain goes, if you haven't already assumed this, we are 100% outside of the word just left my brain. There's no drought in the area. If you didn't already know that, there's no drought in the area now. I laugh because we have got so much rain. When this happens, from time to time, I've gotten some questions here and there. Um, hey, why is it so rainy this year? You know, is there some sort of big change? The conditions vary from year to year. Uh, a lot of it has to do with the temperature of the Pacific Ocean. You hear like El Nino, La Nina, and also just the conditions of the atmosphere throughout the country and the way the jet stream moves. Um, I remember my wife used to work for a company, it's been probably about 10 years ago now, that made pool chemicals. And they had a really hard year because, it was a rainy year, which means less people were out using their pool, uh, which means people weren't buying pool chemicals as much. And so the company actually struggled pretty hard through that. Yeah, you do have that yellowing from too much water. Uh, it's kind of hard for those plants. Last year we didn't have enough water. This year we have too much. They struggle out there. All right, so Rossville, Georgia. I have a question about that area. We have some heavier rain in the area of Rossville, but we're not seeing any of those bright greens indicating strong winds. And currently there are no severe thunderstorm warnings or indications of one being created. We are right in that area where the models were showing some possible re-strengthening, and we do see a couple of bands of heavier rain forming, but not a lot of storm activity. I have kind of touched on a couple of times. You see this section right here, this kind of separated bowing out in front of the storms. You can get things like, some faster moving, cooler air. A lot of times that's due to rain cooled air being pushed out from storms, especially when you have some heavier rain. Or it could just be the atmospheric conditions pushing more cooler air in front of these storms. And so this is kind of, it frightens people because out of nowhere you'll see this gust of wind, 20, 30, 40 miles per hour, but there's no storm. So that's what's happening right now, and making its way into Tunnel Hill down towards Dalton and Lafayette. Uh, just know that, it's nothing severe. It hasn't rained in that area yet, so hopefully the roots are staying good and strong, shouldn't push over any trees. And yeah, asking about the tornado threat, I don't see any real threat of tornadoes for the rest of the morning. Um, I'm not going to say 100% no threat, just because, you have these little points right here. If there was one to form, which I think is very, very unlikely, even kind of right there. Um, if there was one to form, it would be incredibly weak and brief. But yeah, sitting here looking at the decrease in severe potential, I would say we're outside of the possibility of severe or of tornadoes. So I'm going to take these track lines and time points off because we don't really need those. All right. Saudi Daisy, you're in the clear. It's going to rain a little bit more, but you don't have anything severe coming in. Just kind of looking over the radar. I'm going to say that if you are within the state of Tennessee, you are outside of the threat of damaging wind gusts, hail, or any other threats other than, some flash flooding from heavier rain on the streets. Uh, if you're above the Tennessee state line, if you're in the state of Tennessee, you're going to be safe to go to bed. Ashley Hall asking if I cover Stevenson, Alabama. I definitely do. Um, let me see. I don't see really anything in that area. We got a couple of little storms over around Newmarket, but and you can see as that little band of gust crosses this set of storms, it kind of causes a little bit of increase. But yes, I cover all of Jackson County, Alabama, and even down here towards like Center, Cedar Bluff, Collinsville, Crossville. All three of these counties right here I cover. Not a lot going on over there at the moment. Okay, I got distracted. ADD moment. If you're in the state of Tennessee, you're safe to go to bed. You may hear some, a little bit of rain move through, maybe even a rumble of thunder, but there's no severe potential. If you are right here along the Tennessee line in Alabama or Georgia, we're going to keep an eye on these storms, but soon they should, decrease in severity or chance of severity, and we'll be done. I know a lot of you are probably just waking up. I haven't heard a lot of the things that I've said over the last little while. Just to kind of briefly go through, we have some re-strengthening of a couple of storms around the Tennessee state line. If you're in Tennessee, you're safe to go to bed. If you're down here in Georgia, we're keeping an eye on a couple of spots to make sure they don't re-strengthen. We have had a little bit of re-strengthening from them hitting that fresh air. Right now, I don't anticipate anything becoming hazardous, but we're going to make sure. And we have a couple of little pop-ups over here and around Newmarket, Alabama. And we're just going to keep an eye on from like a band of gusty wind coming through and hitting some areas of rain, kind of causing them to strengthen. Currently, there are still no severe thunderstorm warnings or threats within coverage area. We had some heavier rain training through this area up here earlier. Kind of gave some threat of some flash flooding. Oh, just saw a flash of lightning out here near Appleton. Actually, yes, Stevenson, Alabama. Like I said just a little while ago, it's okay. There's nothing going on out there right now. May have a storm roll through a little bit later, but nothing severe. So, which area am I still watching for severe potential? Here, let me show you. Let's see. Right along here, we're still watching for, to make sure these storms don't increase in strength and cause some damaging wind gusts. Especially the storm right here. It's going to be heavy rain on the Tennessee side, but this is the section down here, just past Fort Oglethorpe, between Fort Oglethorpe and Sidewall Ringgold Road. I'm going to keep an eye on that. And like I say, that's just because it's hitting some fresh, moist air. So we want to make sure that none of these storms build up. You're welcome, Ashley. I'm glad I can help. So I would say it's 5:37 right now. 4:37 if you're on Central Time. I would say by 6:15 a.m. we should be completely in the clear everywhere. There's, like I said, there's still going to be rain move through and maybe a rumble of thunder, but as far as severe weather threat, we should be through with it by then. I'm not really expecting a lot of development, but I would rather be safe than sorry because I know a lot of you rely on me to keep you informed. Boop, 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 doo. A little bit of lightning out here around. I'm guessing it's going to be on the storm around Fort Oglethorpe Eastridge that I'm hearing out here in Appleton. Maybe this little section right here should be probably around the Cohutta area now. I have not looked at the model in quite a while. I'm not really relying upon that right now, but never hurts to check it. You can see the model is way off from what's actually happening out there. You know, these are things that you have to, this is why actually looking at what's going on is way better than watching models. Because this is definitely completely different than what's going on out there at the moment. You know, it's hard to look at things days out without a model. We got to rely on those to a point, but if you're getting into, you know, watching storms, if you're kind of new to it, I will say don't just trust one model either. You know, trust multiple models. The HRRR, it's a good model to look at things. It's updated regularly and often, and it stands for high resolution rapid refresh because it's updated so quickly. But it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. The NAM3, you know, you kind of look at those two back and forth and compare. So yeah, we've got, you know, a little bit more organized section of storm right here. Still not seeing anything I'm worried about. But there's going to be some heavier rain. This is probably going to increase to a little bit heavier rain than what it currently is too. Still, I'm standing by. If you live in the state of Tennessee, you know, you're free from any severe thunderstorm threats, and everybody should be completely clear of tornado threat. cats just came to say hi. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Come here. Let's say hi to everybody. Oh, we have Luigi here. Oh, Luigi here. We've got a dog, Mario, and a cat, Luigi. And we have another dog, Zoe, and a cat named Tigger. If you didn't pick up on that, yes, I have a dog named Mario and a cat named Luigi. I've also got 2 boys, so. Still not really seeing anything that concerns me about, rotation or winds, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the velocities map for the moment. I was saying probably about an hour ago, I'm trying to get better at moving through the maps more slowly so you can actually see what I'm looking at versus just kind of clicking through quickly. I can hear the rain coming down pretty good out here in Appleton area. So that means this model's getting ready to update. This is not where that rain currently is. Seeing this little set of rain near Interstate 59 around New England, Tennessee, or Georgia. Oh, it's moved across now. So that kind of broke up a little bit. But it's those little concentrated areas of rain where we're keeping a close eye out. I would say probably within the next 30 minutes we should see a lot of weakening with these storms, and we'll probably end the stream. Now, I had a question about Stevenson, Alabama earlier that's still looking, a little rainy in the area, but not severe. And we're keeping an eye on these storms as they make their way into these areas where we didn't have, some prefrontal storms earlier. So it's allowing those storms to suck up some new energy, possibly get a little bit stronger. Just to say, a lot of you are probably wondering when the rain itself is going to make it out of the area, because we still have a lot of lingering rain where we've had storms earlier. Definitely by like 8, 9 a.m. it should be clear for the rest of the day. Should end up being a really nice Saturday. Warm. Fairly a little humid out there, but be a good day to go out and hit the playground, play in the yard with the kids, do some yard work. Probably this late afternoon, evening, get some grass mowed. I know it's been a struggle to keep the grass cut this, spring, early summer, because so much rain, it's tough to mow grass when it's wet. Oh, my coffee's gone. This is just while I'm sitting here and there's not a lot going on. I love this coffee mug. I've always wanted just a good coffee mug. I don't like putting, two fingers in or that. I want to be able to put all my fingers. I want to hold the coffee mug with my fist. So I looked for one for years. And this is a nice handmade mug that I found actually at a little car show festival for a old mill in North Carolina. I found it and I was like, I found my mug. And yes, I am just trying to fill some time here. While not a lot's going on and we just have some heavy rain, I want to stay on here and just make sure that everything calms down like it's supposed to, but I don't want to just sit here in silence. So, uh, while we're sitting here, if anybody has any questions, about it could be about the weather, it could be about something else. Any questions about me? Fire away. I'll say again, if you are in Tennessee, you're safe to go to bed. I know it's kind of getting towards morning time, but it's Saturday, so go to bed, sleep in, put on a movie, and just relax at least. Uh, if you're in North Georgia, we're starting to see these storms kind of relax. We got some heavier spots of rain around, Varnell, Ringgold, Temple Grove area, moving towards the Cohutta Wildlife Management area, Big Frog, Cohutta Wilderness. And these sections of heavy rain should start to lessen soon. Uh, this section right here, around Flintstone, Georgia, Chattanooga Valley, it's starting to weaken and it'll continue to weaken. We have a couple of, rain bands around Shiloh, Alabama, Cedar Hill, Georgia, Camersonville, Alabama. These are going to also weaken as well. We're going to see a couple of little spots of storms around Jackson County, Alabama, but they are just going to be, rain, heavy rain, maybe a rumble of thunder. The severe threat for that is gone. Looking a little bit further south for Alabama, we are seeing a stormy section move towards between Collinsville and Cedar Bluff, center Alabama. We'll keep an eye on that, but I don't expect any severe development with that either. What's my favorite color? That's going to be green. It sometimes I like blue better than green. It just depends on the shades. But yeah, I like green. How's my back? My back's doing well. I have, you know, there's basically no disc between my L5 and S1 vertebra. The remaining disc material, but I don't have any support in that area. So I have, four different levels of nerves that give me a lot of pain in my lower back. Um, so every once in a while, I have to go in and have ablation. Since it's expanded to four different levels, I can only have one side done at a time, which uh, the way that they do the ablation is, once you reach that many spaces, like I said, they'll only do one side at a time, which means, I got my left side done over the past week, and that's healing and it's good. I'm comfortable with that now. Um, but I still have pain on the right side, so here around the 30th, I'll have it done on my right side, and then I'll be relatively pain free for probably about a year or so. And then I'll have to have it done again. So what they do is they go in and use radio frequency to essentially burn the nerves where they don't have feeling. It's great if you have lower back pain, upper back pain, back pain in general, and it's from the discs. Maybe see if that's a possibility, and it's kind of a stopgap to relieve the pain until you have to have more surgery. So let's see here. Is the area near Red Clay in the clear, or will the Cohutta storm be moving that direction? Let's see. So Red Clay is right here around. Hold on. Where am I? Had to realign myself. So yeah, no, Red Clay's good. You may have a little bit of heavier rain, or you will have some heavier rain move in for a moment. But as far as like severe potential, you're good. You can get some rest. We do have some thunder and lightning happening out here around Cohutta. I've got a couple of people heading up to Philadelphia, Tennessee later today to do some scuba diving. Wish I could go, but I have to be careful since I had that, minor surgery on my back the other day. I have, places where infection can make its way to my spine, so I don't get to go scuba diving. Really, we have this kind of last longer section making its way through the Cohutta area. After that crosses the county line, I'm going to go ahead and call it. But if you are anywhere from Ringgold to the west, you're safe to go to bed. So yeah, Ringgold, Tunnel Hill, Chickamauga, Fort Oglethorpe, Lafayette, Morganville, Trenton. Any of these areas, yeah, go get some sleep, get some rest. I'm gonna watch this one little section right here until we make it across the county line, and I'm gonna go get what little rest I can. Again, if you're just kind of joining in, we have some heavier rain right here around Cohutta down to Varnell, a little bit around Tunnel Hill. watching this band move across. I don't expect anything severe, but I'm just going to confirm that before I jump off here. If you're anywhere outside of this area, here I'll draw my line. If you are within any of this poorly shaded area, you are safe to get some rest, go to sleep. You're safe from storm threat. Well, actually, I wouldn't say over here in North Carolina because they're seeing a couple of storms. Kind of overextended my line there, but yeah, you can go ahead and get some rest. And we are seeing a lot of weakening with that stronger set of storms. But yeah, if you're anywhere in my coverage area, outside of where this is heading, you're good to get some rest. So we're just moving in that direction, in this area. I don't really cover past Murray County, so we're hitting around 6 a.m. now. Still watching this last little bit of storm area in the coverage area. It should be making its way out. I'm still thinking around 6:15 I'm going to end the live stream. We've been on here for about 3.25 hours, and everything's going kind of as thought. Currently, no severe thunderstorm warnings or watches. Not a lot of potential for things to become severe, but we do have this set of storms that's kind of hitting some fresh, warm air around Eden down here. So just going to keep an eye on that just to make sure. Just replying to a couple of messages on here, people asking. I do my general coverage, but also look at severe weather for a couple of people outside of the area, and people that watch over areas. That's important. So I try and keep them advised. So if you ever see me look down at my phone, that's what I'm working on. So yeah, this is really just kind of a waiting game. I may actually. Okay, I would say probably one more radar scan, and we should be good. We're primarily watching this section of heavier rain around Cohutta Wildlife Management Area. We're starting to get a lot of that weakening like we thought would happen. And I kind of called 6:15, and it's still looking like that's probably going to be the time slot we're looking at. If you are anywhere, outside of what you're currently seeing on the map, you're safe to go to sleep, get some rest, or get up and start your day. I know we're around 6 a.m., and a lot of you are past your sleep time. I need to come up with some sort of music or something like that. I don't like dead air on here, but also sometimes it's just, we're just on here to keep an eye out. So I'll try to come up with some nice music. While I am sitting here, I'll, remind everybody I am streaming on YouTube under its Engel Weather Service, just like it is on Facebook. Whenever I get on here and do a live stream, I do it on there as well, so that way, it's easier for some people to see. Some people don't have Facebook, so they can't see the updates on Facebook. I've had a couple of people say that they like that I do it on YouTube because they can pull it up on their TV, and so they just kind of put it up on their TV, and they can keep a eye on it while they're doing things around the house, and it's easier than watching the cell phone or the iPad or a computer. Um, but yeah, it's Engel Weather Service on YouTube. It's the exact same stream as we have on Facebook. Uh, and as time goes on, I'm going to, grow the two other places to stream as well. And I'm able to continue to increase my coverage into other places because, things like the money that y'all donate from time to time when you think I've done a good job. I appreciate that, and I always try to take a lot of that and, put it back into what I do. Yeah, it helps me do it better. Helps me give you better information more quickly. But I know some of you are like, oh, spend some of that money on yourself. Well, if I'm able to do it easier, faster, and better, then that takes a lot of stress off of me. So it's something for me as well. Uh, we should be getting the next radar scan very soon. And either this radar scan or the next radar scan will kind of confirm that everything's good. Just to kind of zoom back out and look across the area, we do have a little pocket of heavier rain, Crossville, Alabama, heading towards Collinsville. but I don't expect that to become severe. You know, the whole area that I cover here in Alabama looks good. If you're in Tennessee, everything looks good up there. And once this set of rain moves across, you should be free of any rain or hazards throughout the day. Now, of course, it is mid-May, so there may be a little small shower pop up, but nothing impending, nothing severe, nothing too worrisome. Just rain. You can enjoy your day. So a little bit of heavier rain in Eaton, Georgia at the time. Yeah, this is why I wanted to keep an eye on it. I wanted to make sure that I covered this until it was all the way out of the coverage area. Heavier rain can be a hazard. And one, maybe two more radar scans, and we should be through with the threat in that area. Just responding to a couple of messages. I get a little phone blind when I'm on here live. I get so focused, especially if there's severe hazards. I try to keep an eye on everything. I look on my phone after I'm, covering the severe hazards and realize that I've missed multiple messages. Like my aunt was asking about uh, something earlier. Well, so yesterday evening, and I'm realizing now that I never saw the message. Now I feel bad that I didn't reply. But again, we're just kind of taking a moment to let this storm pass through Eaton, Georgia, past Bald Mountain. Good morning, Leah. I've known Leah most of my life. Since back the Harrison Elementary summer care days. Those were the good times. Back when we used to play battle ball, which is like it's dodgeball, but a little bit more intense. Uh, all those good times. All right, so we do have a little bit of strengthening within this storm heading on the south end of Bald Mountain. Um, I don't think this is going to be anything severe wind threat, but we do have looks like some hail forming south of Grassy Mountain. Don't see anything showing rotation within this storm, anything worrisome as far as that goes, but definitely going to be some hail around Grassy Mountain, Bald Mountain, just south of those peaks. So yeah, there's still going to be some little spots of rain moving through, maybe even a rumble of thunder, but the severe threat further back over here is gone. Some heavier rain past Dalton, but nothing, threatening. And we're starting to see a lot of clearing out of the rain up here in Tennessee. That's going to continue to decrease and move out. I've got to move more slowly through the map. This is something I've been working on trying to remember. It's hard because I'll kind of jump into this map and dig through all the information quickly. And then I'll realize, oh, I'm flying through this and it's kind of hard to see, especially if you're looking at it on a cell phone. So I'm trying to be better about that. It's a learning curve. So again, we're mainly just watching this little increasing section around Grassy Mountain, moving south of Bald Mountain. It should be out of the area soon. We're coming up on 6:15, which is about when I estimated we would be done, and looks like maybe 2 more radar scans instead of 1 more, and we should be through. I could even make it easier instead of just estimating. So yeah, definitely within the next 2 radar scans, maybe 1. I'm not seeing any sort of indications of rotation around this storm. We're not looking at, any high wind threats or anything like that. Just a little bit of hail building. We'll move back to the single pane. Oh, and now, yeah, so we're right at the county line there. That hail kind of came and went. Uh, it's just going to be heavier rain. We've got 1 more radar scan and it'll definitely be out of the area. And then we will end the stream. Just to kind of briefly go back and look at the entire coverage area, we still have some lingering rain, maybe a little bit of thunder. Down here, my south end coverage of Alabama, we have some rain moving through here, some heavier pockets, but it's not anything I think is going to be severe or threatening. Thunder and lightning can be severe, but in most cases it's not considered a severe threat unless it's just very heavy. I don't know, that's a lot of times. I'll say, oh, it's not looking like a severe storm. Uh, and then people will pop up, oh, it's, storming heavy in this area or that area. And a lot of times it's, some thunder and lightning. Uh, like I said, lightning, it's definitely got a lot of risk. You don't want to be struck by lightning, but unless it's really heavy, it doesn't really classify a storm as severe thunderstorm. I'm gonna zoom back in here. We should be getting that last radar scan any minute now. And then we will call it. I'm going to take another second again to say thank you for trusting me to keep you safe. It really is something that, it sounds weird that I'm thanking y'all for letting me do this, but without your support and encouragement, it wouldn't be worth all of the work. I'm glad that I can come in here and give you good, strong, solid information that makes you feel safer. That's what I want to do. Give you the right information so you know exactly where the hazards are when they do occur. It's important to me, and to have the opportunity and the ability to do that really makes me happy. To steal a phrase from Chick-fil-A, it's my pleasure. So, yes, this section of storm has passed where you were seeing on the map. Uh, it's probably closer to Pink Knob Mountain. Uh, but we're going to confirm it with the radar just to make sure. Because then I can say for sure 100%, and I wouldn't say guessing, but, giving just my thoughts on it. And there we are. So just one more time. Uh, we have no severe thunderstorm or tornado risk for the entire coverage area now. We made it through with no issue. We did have a tornado warning earlier for a short time. Kind of came across right here at the corner of Meigs County, Bradley County, and McMinn County, and headed towards Etowah, Tennessee. I have not seen any reports of if a tornado was actually located within that storm. We had some strong rotation. It started weak, and I think that The tornado warning was issued pretty early, but I know they did that to try and give people notice and time to get somewhere safe. And then the rotation increased as it came towards Etowah, and then it died out pretty quickly after that. Be interesting to see if an actual tornado formed within that storm. I'd say there's probably a 50-50 chance, but if it did, it was, a weaker tornado. Other than that, we just had, some heavier rain come through some areas and made it through without anything too crazy. I'm going to get off here and get some rest. I hope everybody has a wonderful Saturday. It's going to shape up to be a really nice day. It's going to be on the hot side, so dress for that. And thank you for coming by, and we'll see you soon.